In this video, we'll be covering the basics of automation in the arrangement window. Now, if you've noticed, we're still in the session window, and that's because what I want to show you is that you can take automation from the session window in one of these clips and record it over into the automation window. Now, I've deleted the automation that we put in from the previous videos, so if you're following along with this, then just go ahead and delete the automation that you had in the envelopes window, and you can follow along by adding in this new automation that we'll be putting in. First thing I want to do is I want to close out this envelopes window, and I want to set a loop inside of here. So we're just going to loop this first count. So I'll highlight that and hit Command L, and you'll see that the loop length is turned to 1 count. Next thing, we'll want to go over to the envelopes window, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into the clip and we're going to adjust the transposition modulation. So what you'll see is, if I open this up a little bit more, you'll see that all of these horizontal lines show up inside of your audio clip. And these are just the different semitones, so you can start at 0, which is the actual pitch of the song, and then up from that is 1 semitone, 2 semitones, all the way up to 12 semitones, which is 1 octave above the original pitch of the song, or this a cappella. And then if you go down from that, you'll go down 1 octave, or you can go farther. So just for this example, what I'll do is I'll grab this and I'll put it up to about an octave, and you can hear what that sounds like. So you see how it's changing the transposition of, or the pitch of, this a cappella. So we'll put it at about 12, and then we'll put the other side of the loop at about 12, and then we can play around with how it's modulating the transposition inside of this 1 bar loop that we have going on. So that sounds kind of cool. And now the next thing that we'll do is we can take this clip over into the arrangement view. And there's really 2 ways to get it over there. If you click and hold it and hit tab, you can drag it over into the other window and place it on this track. And the reason I'm doing it that way is because I already have all of these other clips from the other session where we recorded in all this stuff in when we covered the audio section. Now, if you don't have all of this stuff already in your arrangement view, the other way to do it is to go back over here, and we can take all of these, we'll just move them down to this next scene, so that way we can just hit play on this one scene. So now you'll see that all of these are playing at the same time, and if I hit the record button, this will record all of this into the arrangement view.
Come on.
So now you can see that we have some of what we recorded inside of the arrangement view. So I'll hit this button, so that way now we're listening to everything that's playing inside of the arrangement view. And I can clean this up a little bit and get rid of some of the stuff that I don't need. So we already had this stuff in there before. And I'll just take this down a little bit. So now you can see all of the stuff that we had in there before. So we'll get rid of that, we don't need it. And we can sort of use this as like an intro or opener to this kind of track that we had already started to build out. And now if we take a closer look at this clip that we recorded in here, you'll see that the clip envelope automation is still there inside of this clip that we recorded in. And if I want to take a listen to that just to make sure, I can highlight this and hit 0, and I can just mute out these other clips so that way these won't play back. And then I'll select that and I can hit play, and you'll just hear just that one sound. So it's playing back just the same way that we had it inside of the session view. So this clip transferred over just the same way, and it carries the automation with it. Now if I did this automation inside of the arrangement view, and I grabbed this and I pulled it back into the session view, then it would do the same thing. It would bring the automation back and forth. So that's a really nice feature about Ableton, is if you're working in the arrangement view and you want to bring back things into the session view, then it'll carry the automation with it. So now I'll just hit 0 again, and I'll turn these back on. Now the automation inside of the arrangement window isn't very different than automating anything inside of the clip envelopes. if I click on this acapella, you'll see that there's a line inside of this window, or in the side of this track. So if I pull that up a little bit more, what I can do now is I can click on this drop down window, and just like inside of the clip envelopes, I can select things here in this drop down window. I could say none, so then you'll see that the line goes away and I won't be able to automate anything. But I can go through here and I can select anything that I want to automate from this drop down window. So you'll see that I have my mixer and all the same settings that I would find inside of my clip envelopes. If I go to clip envelopes, you'll see that I don't have a mixer option because I'm in the arrangement window. In my session window, you'll see that that clip offers me the mixer options, and you'll see that it's all the same settings: speaker on, track panning, volume, crossfade, reverb, simple delay. So anything that I have as far as my sends go will show up in here inside of the mixer. And then if I go back here, you'll see that it's the same thing here: speaker on, track panning, volume, all the same stuff. And again, the reason you don't see it inside of the envelopes here is because you're inside of the arrangement view, so you can essentially do all of the mixer settings just inside of this track. Now you add and remove automation the same way. You just click and add in a breakpoint or one of these dots, and you can just add in automation. You can add in curves the same way. So if I hold Option, I can add curves to all this. I can highlight. Now deleting automation is different. If I just hit delete, I'll delete the audio too. Now if I don't want to do that, I hold Command and then hit delete, or Control Delete for PC users. And what I want to do next is I want to add in just some basic audio effect plugin. Let's just go with an auto filter. So I'll drag that over the track and that'll show up on here. I'll close out this window. And the reason I want to add in a plugin is because instead of going through these windows here and saying auto filter, okay, I want to automate the device on, or maybe I want to automate the frequency, I can just simply go in here and click on a parameter. And as soon as I click on that parameter, you'll see that the line in this track starts to change. It kind of jumps up and down. It moves to different places. And what it is, if you look also at these drop down menus, that these change as well. So it's set to auto filter and resonance, and then as soon as I click on frequency, you'll see that it changes. And now Ableton is set up so that all I have to do is go in here and start automating this frequency. So if I wanted to do that, it's a much faster, easier way than trying to navigate through menus. All I have to do is just click on the parameter that I want to automate. So if I want to automate the amount of this LFO, I click on that, and then I am all ready to start automating that LFO. So what I'll do now is I'll get rid of this automation because we don't need it. And we'll change this. I'll just set this up as, I don't know, like a bandpass filter. And we'll automate the frequency for this. We'll just move it around a little bit over time. See how that works. And then we can play this with the track. So maybe not so drastic. All right, we'll change that. And then the other thing I'll show you is this little plus sign in the corner of this track. So if you want to add in more automation lanes, what you can do is hit this little plus sign, and you see that that drops down. And now I have the auto frequency in its own automation lane. And I get this little triangle where I can close and open that so I can see the different automations. And then if I click back on another parameter, so let's say we want to automate this and have it panning. What I can do is I can copy and paste this automation to that. So now we have our panning following the same motions as the auto filter. So I just copied this automation for the auto filter and pasted it to the panning, because the last thing that I clicked on was the panning. If I had clicked on anything else, then that automation would have been pasted to that parameter. So what I'll do is I'll get rid of that other breakpoint, and now you'll see that it starts center and it'll move left and right and it'll come back to center. And if I play this, it should sound like it's auto panning and moving left and right. All right, and then I can even make this more drastic. So I can take this now and I can pull these out and I can make them go farther left and farther right. So I can make this more drastic than the auto filter. And then I can also hit this plus sign and drop that down, and then I can hide those if I want, and I don't have to keep looking at those, and I can always add in new automation. But as soon as I click on that parameter again, you'll see that it shows up here in this window. So anytime I want to look at the automation I have for a specific parameter, I can just click on it and it'll show up inside of this automation lane. But then I also have these ones where I can look through them as well. I can kind of hide them. I can add them here and just hide them away and touch on them later. One last thing that I'll show you is how you can automate the global tempo for the whole song. So if I go into my master fader, you'll see that I have my mixer and I can select the song tempo. And so I can actually change what the tempo is. So I can have a transition from 120 to, let's say, 110. And so if I play this from the beginning, you'll hear that it slows down. So that can make for a really smooth transition if you're trying to jump between tempos inside of your song. And you can also make it so that it's more drastic and you can jump straight to it. So let's take it down to this 98. And another thing I'll show you is if I make this bigger, you'll be able to work in the increments a little bit closer. But also if you hold down on a Mac, if you click on it and you hold down Command, and then you'll be able to draw this in smaller or finer details. It's Control if you're on PC, so just click and hold the breakpoint and then hold down Control, and you'll be able to drag it up and down and get it to a more exact kind of number. So you can hear how that changes really quickly. So you can choose how you want this to change. If you want it to be more drastic or if you want it to be more abrupt, then that's how you can change the song tempo on your master fader. Those are some of the basics of using automation inside of the arrangement window. So hopefully that helps to make some sense for you, and now you can start to play around with some of those features inside of the arrangement window.